Hey everybody, it's Kathy Champion and we're back in my craft room at Random Acts of Crafting. And I saw a card on Pinterest that I want to try to somewhat replicate, but I am going to actually bring my own spin on this card. I'm going to use this Anna Griffin embossing folder, and I think we're going to make this a 5x7 card since we're using this larger embossing folder. So the first thing I want to do is cut my paper down to the size that I need it to be, and a 5x7 needs to be cut by 10x7. So we are going to cut 10 this way. So on the 11 inch side, you're going to just take off an inch, which will give you the 10 inches. And then on the 8.5, you're just going to cut that down to 7. So lining it up on the 7. And I'm just going to slice that off, and then we are going to score this card in half at 5 inches on the 10-inch side. So it's our scoreboard, and let's put that in, and let's grab our bone folder, and I'm going to score it right at 5 inches. And fold that over, and I'm going to make sure that I meet my edges up really good before I crease it down. Just like that. And now we have this nice crisp fold on that, and we're ready to emboss. So let's see, I think I'm just going to grab my Cuttlebug for the embossing, because with the Cuttlebug I don't have to change out the mats and put the little extender in and all of that, and I think I can do it with this one. I do have 2 decent plates left that I use just for embossing, and if I can find them. And it is these 2. These haven't gotten warpy and really bad scarred up yet, so we're going to use those. And this is my A plate, so I'm just going to put it down with a B plate, and then my card in my embossing folder. Now I want to make sure I emboss the front of it, so I am going to put it in like this. And this should ensure, I tell you what, let's mat it. We're going to mat that on a, let's see, we're going to do a 5x7, so 6 3/4, 6.5 by, let me cut my other mat for this and then we can decipher. So let's back up just for a minute. I wasn't thinking ahead on what I needed to do, so sometimes that happens. No loss here. We're just going to regroup, and I am going to grab a piece of gold cardstock. And I'm going to use this Tim Holtz. I got this, I believe, on sale at Joann's some time ago, and I've still been using out of it because my gold and my silvers are something I don't use real often, but when I need a piece, I like this because it's heavier. I do have some very thin foil paper, but since this is going to be a mat on this card, I want it to be something a little more substantial than just a thin piece. So let's get our trimmer out one more time, and now we know that this card is 5x7, so I want to do it 4 3/4. So 4 3/4, almost to 5, and then 6 3/4, which is almost 7. And we're going to save this little bit because we're going to do some butterflies out of that in just a little bit. So I'm going to leave my trimmer laying right there, because what we're going to do is I'm not going to adhere anything down until I get all my pieces cut. But what I need to do now is I need to bring down one more size for another mat on here that's going to be a white piece of paper as well. And on this piece of white, I am going to trim it to, let's see, I'm going 1/4 inch smaller. So we know that this one was 4 3/4, so we're going to do 4.5 by 4.5 by 6.5. So 4.5 by 6.5. So I'm going to do 4.5 this way. And just slice that off. And then we're going to do 6.5 this way. And this is going to be the piece that we will actually emboss in our embossing folder. So the reason I did it this way is I wanted to make sure that I got my pieces cut 1/4 inch down from each stack, so that when they stack together, they are going to look very even all the way around, just like that. And then this piece will live on top of here, and we have that beautiful gold border around the edge. And there's something so elegant about anytime you put some gold foil paper on a card, it just automatically dresses it up. So we're going to grab our plates now, and we're actually ready to emboss. And I'm going to load in the A plate and the B plate. And I don't even know if I need to tell y'all that anymore, because I know the cuddle bug has kind of gone by the wayside now. I am going to set this paper in this embossing folder. I want it down toward the bottom, because you can see that embossing is heavier at the bottom, and it kind of tapers off as it goes up. So I want to grab as much of that at the bottom as I can. So I am going to slide that in like this. And then I'm going to put that other B plate over top, just like that. And then we're going to crank it through. Crank it back through. I'm hoping I got a good embossing on that. If I didn't, I might have to put a shim in. But yeah, that looks like it. Oh yeah, that did beautifully. Look at that. I want to see the, yeah, there you go. Can you see that beautiful embossing? Now, I'm not going to ink drag this or anything. I just want this card to look very elegant. And I think having that simple but beautiful embossing powder on it, pattern, not powder, but pattern, it's going to lend that elegance to the card that I'm actually looking for. So now we got the embossing done. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of my way. And we are going to go ahead and, let me check my picture on, we're going to need to cut a piece for the middle. So I'm going to need a piece of gold that's going to be, now I'm eyeballing this, and I'm doing this card totally by eye. So I am going to cut this piece at about 3 1/4. Yeah, 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. So that's just about 3 1/4 right there. So I'm going to cut it off of this piece, and all I got to do is cut 2 1/4 off of this end, and we will have that gold piece that we need. So 2 1/4, and then that's going to live right there in the middle. And we are also going to need a piece that is just 1/4 inch smaller in white. So this is 3 1/4, so we need a 3 by 2. So let's see, this is 4, so we need it to be, let's go ahead and take a 2 inch piece off and take it to 3, so 2 by 3. And this piece is what we'll do our stamping on. So that's going to live on here like this. I really think this is going to be a very simple card, but it's going to definitely have a wow factor in the fact that we're doing the white on gold. I think it's going to be beautiful. So what I'm going to do at this point is I want to go ahead and adhere this piece to the front of my card. So I'm going to actually use my ATG gun because I just want to make this pretty quick. You know, not that I'm rushing, but I did want this to be kind of a quick card that you could throw together, you know, fairly simply and easily. And if you don't have an embossing folder, if you have some paper stacks that are embossed, you could cut a piece of that instead of actually embossing it. I always like to give y'all different ways that you could come up with something like that. Or if you have a piece of white paper that maybe has a faint pattern in it, but you know, sort of like the white on white, that would be beautiful as well. So what I'm going to do is very carefully, since I'm using the ATG, I am going to stick that down, and that's not quite where I want it, so let's peel it up. Looks like we're going to have to leave that right there, and I think it's fine. We got it pretty much an even border all the way around it, so we're going to go with it. I am going to use my emery board and just clean that up right there on the edges. And that is just where it did a little fraying when I cut it. Okay, that is good. Now we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to layer this piece over top of the gold. And another reason I'm not wanting to use my wet glue, when wet glue gets on the gold paper, it shows, and then you have to wipe it off with a wet wipe. And I really didn't want to do that. I wanted it to something, using the ATG, it's much better because you have a dry adhesive. And I don't use this, you know, real often unless I'm just in a hurry, but I have gotten much more comfortable with my ATG gun, and kind of been embracing it, and I think y'all seen that in some of my other cards that I've made. Make sure that it's opening on the right side. Now I am very gently just going to kind of eyeball that down, and that looks good, and then I'm just going to press it down. And you can see already that this card is coming together beautifully. So what I'm going to do now is I want to stamp, and this is going to be a happy anniversary card. And I'm going to look in my dies and see if I have a pretty happy anniversary that I can cut out. And if I do, I'll cut it out of this gold, and we'll just adhere it on here. If we don't, we'll stamp it in gold and heat emboss it. I think we can always do that if we need to. But let's see if I have the words, and I do have all of my words in one folder. So let's see if we have a happy anniversary. And of course you could do this card and make it a happy birthday, a thinking of you, or anything, but I just thought with that gold it looks beautiful for an anniversary card. So let's see what we got here in our words. I have a congratulation, and I have prayers, and I have with love. I think this is with love. Yeah, with love. And from our house to your house. Okay, those aren't yet. This is a congratulations. Let's see. That's another congratulation. I am not seeing anything that says happy anniversary, so that might be, we might just have to go with, that's with sympathy. And this is another card. You could do this card indefinitely. We could do the thinking of you. Let's see. Let's do this and do a thinking of you. That way I can actually cut this out of the embossing. I mean, rather than embossing, we can just cut it, which I think will be easier than having to heat emboss. So let's try that and see how it works out for us. So, okay, we're not going to cut it out of this piece. This is our layering piece. Well, let's see if it's going to fit on this white. Thinking of you. I think it will. So let's bring our little die cut machine back in, and we're going to cut that out right there. So I'm actually going to bring my Big Shot, because for die cutting, since my plates have been bad, I have been pretty much embracing the Big Shot. So I am going to load this in. I think it's time to, I don't know if y'all remember me telling you, anytime you're working with a die machine, you have to have new plates, the two top and bottom cutting mats to make this work. But every time when you put it in, your bottom plate only cut with one plate and cover with the other. But mash on it. If it springs, turn it over. And if you do that every time, not turn it over every time, but just test it. And if it springs, then you want to flip it. And if you do that, your plates will last you so much longer. I actually saw this tip on YouTube by one of the people that does training for Sissics. So I thought that was a wonderful tidbit, and I didn't think it would work, but I've tried it, and it is working wonderfully. I'm not having the bowed plates anymore, and if you do that every time that you notice at least a little bit of spring in your plate, just flip it over, and it works wonderfully. Let's make sure this cut out, and it did. Okay, we got that cut. There's our little dot that goes over our eye, so we don't want to lose it. And I'm going to lay this back down here. We do need to cut some butterflies. So while I've got this up here, I pulled out some of my butterflies, and I think what I want to do is I want some smaller ones and a bigger one. I think I'm going to use this big one because I think it's pretty, and I want to do it out of the gold paper. So I am going to put this one on here like so, and we're going to cut him out, or her. Butterflies are always so pretty. I always think of them being her, but I'm sure they're both species. Probably the more beautiful ones are the male. That's usually the case in the animal kingdom. The male's always the pretty colored one, and the female's usually the paler, less attractive species, so which is kind of unfair. But anyway, there's that butterfly. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? I think this is the first time I've used these particular dies, and they are so pretty. Oh, I love that. And get all my little pieces out. I do have some pieces right there that I need to use my little pokey tool to poke out. And these cut really well, even with this gold, heavier gold paper. It is cutting really well, and that is a good thing. So there we go, we got that, and I'm going to lay this over here on my card. And now I want to find something that's got a little smaller butterfly, and I need some small ones, and I might even have to go with a punch. I don't particularly like my butterfly punch because it has no dimension to it. So let me look at my butterflies one more time and see if I can find a small one. Seems like all of my butterflies are fairly good size, but I do have this little butterfly flourish, and I think I might be able to cut this and only cut a couple of these. See these little butterflies? And they're actually on these stems, but I think we can probably cut those away. So let's try adjusting it like this and put our cutting plate over it. And I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we're going to try it. Now, if you do not have butterfly dies, you can always pick up a pack of butterfly embellishments at your craft store, and because I know not everybody has a die cutting machine and not everybody has the dies. So just remember that I always tell you this: when I'm making a card, I'm only giving you inspiration. I'm not telling you that this is the only way it can be done. So look in your stash. You might have some little butterfly stickers, you might have some little raised up butterfly dimensionals. So look in your stash before you say, I can't do that because I don't have the stuff to make it with. You'd be surprised what you actually have that you didn't even know you had. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to take my snips and I'm just going to snip these little pieces off, and we're going to be able to use that butterfly, and the same with this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke out the rest of my little pieces so it can all be right here, and then I can clean that up after we finish getting this card together. I was going to try to get something up for yesterday, but I had strict orders from my husband to stay off my foot because I have had some extreme swelling in my entire leg. So he has told me that I need to stay off. So I'm actually doing this at night, and he's taking care of some chores in the kitchen for me. I am so blessed. So I am going to try my best to take it easy again tomorrow and kind of do nothing. And even though I'm sitting, when I'm sitting here, I still don't have my foot up. So I'm trying to be very cautious of keeping my foot elevated and hoping that the swelling is going to go down and that I'll be able to be back on my feet soon, as I want to be. Okay, there's a cute little butterfly. See, that one worked out good. And now we got this other little small one that we can cut. And all I'm doing is just snipping away the little pieces that it was connected to. And again, I didn't have smaller ones, but I found something that I'm going to make work. And that's the secret to successful crafting, is to use what you got, work with what you got, and make it, just make it happen. Sometimes we have to think outside the box to do that, but that's all the fun of crafting, is just trying to step outside your comfort zone and do something a little different and a little bit challenging. I cannot encourage y'all enough to try your best to think outside of your comfort and try something new and something different, and you will be surprised at how well you feel when you succeed. It is just the best feeling ever, and you can say, I did it, and that is a wonderful feeling. And with every accomplishment that you make, you will become more confident, and the next thing you know, you'll be crafting like a pro. So I'm saying all of this to all of my newbie crafters out there. So don't give up, and just, if you make a mess, I cannot tell you how much paper crafting supplies that I messed up in my early days of crafting. I would try, and then I would try again, and I would try, and I would try again, and if I didn't get it right, I would just try some more. And that's pretty much the tenacity that you have to become good at anything. So okay, we got this little piece all done and ready to go. So I think what I'm going to do to make this a little easier, I think I'm going to run this through on my Xyron. Now you don't have to do that. You can very easily put, you know what, I'm putting this down on white paper, so I think I might not do that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick it down with some art glitter glue. Changed my mind again. It's a woman's prerogative, or that's what they say. So I'm just going to dab. Remember I told you, if you are doing words or numbers, letters, it's better to do little dots of glue than it is to try to run it along every piece, because it's almost impossible to get a straight amount of glue on some of these little places on the letters. So if you just dot it, you will come out a lot better. You won't make as big a mess with your lettering, and it works. So I'm going to pick this up very carefully, and I am going to very, very gently lay it down on that white piece of paper, and I'm going to try to straighten it up, get the glue off of my fingers so I don't make a mess. And there we go. Now to get my little dots over my eyes of the thinking of you, I am going to, let me grab a wet wipe because I do want to wipe that off just to make sure I didn't get any glue. And I see a little bit on there. I don't know if it's showing on the camera, but right there was just a tiny bit of glue. And it doesn't hurt to wipe this off with a wet wipe like this. And it will keep that from looking ugly. And when I say ugly, sometimes the glue on the metallic paper or the foil paper will look a little murky. And I didn't want that look, so that's the reason. So right over top of this eye, I'm going to put one little dot of glue. And I'm going to pick up one of my dots, and I'm just going to set it right there. And I'm going to do the same thing over top of this other eye. Just one little dot, dab, a dot. Uh-oh, did I pick that up on my hand? Oh, no, yes I did. It's over here. That's okay, we found it. I thought I had lost it, but we found it. Okay, then we're just going to sit this down right there, like that. And we got that done. We are pretty much ready to put this card together, and just think how fast this came together for us. And it's going to be a gorgeous card once we're done. Alright, let's bring our card back over, and I am going to put our piece down first, and then we will arrange our butterflies. So let's glue this to this. Again, I am going to use the ATG because I'm gluing to that that little piece right there. And I mean, some of you probably wouldn't call this a simple card, but there's no fancy footwork on this card. It's pretty much straight edges. It's pretty much just squares and rectangles, mostly rectangles. And I guess the hardest part was cutting our words and getting them glued down, and our butterflies. But again, like I said, if you got a stamp, you could stamp this and put it down with some Versamark ink. That's just not lining up where I want it. Okay, let's try this again. Alrighty, I'm going to try it this way, and I think that's going to work a little bit better. Yep. Nope, still not getting it where I want it. Okay. And like I said, things like this happen, and I leave these boo-boos in here so that you can see that we all make mistakes. I watched some of the crafters. I am going to put a little glue on this because I need some wiggle room on here. I wasn't going to do that but I need just a little bit of wiggle room to get that on there straight. And that's the beauty of glue. It gives you that opportunity to slide it around a little bit before it actually adheres. So there we go, like that. And now I am going to turn this over, and I'm going to use my bone folder to just kind of rub that down. And the reason I'm doing that is I want those letters. I can't do it on this side because I'm afraid I'll mess up my lettering, but I could turn it over and do it like this, and everything adheres. So there we go. And we got that little piece in there. A little piece of glue right there, but not a big deal. I am going to wipe this down one more time. And now we can go ahead and glue this to the front of our card, like so. And I am going to use some art glitter glue, and the reason I want to use art glitter glue is because we got a raised area there. And these are just things you need to think about when you're using glue or tape or a different type of adhesive. Sometimes it just works much better if you've got some little grooves or something like that. The other thing too, if you're using glitter paper, that's very hard to glue to. So kind of think about that when you're doing your Christmas cards. Some of the glitter paper, the one that's rougher, is extremely hard to glue to, but the smoother had to get my glue going. It just did not want to flow for me. And it's still not wanting to. Let's see if it needs burping. Yeah, I heard air come out of it, so maybe it just needed burping. Every now and then you have to take these glues apart and clean out your lid, and that might be exactly where I'm at. It might have a clog in my fine metal tip. I'm not sure. Clean my pen off again since I stuck it down in there. Let's see if that helped. There's an air bubble. And just a reminder for everybody, it is starting to get colder in some places more so than others, but even here in the Carolinas it started to drop down. So if you are in need of art glitter glue, I would tell you to order soon, because it's not going to be, they're not going to be able to ship it out. Now Amazon, I think, will ship it no matter what, but art glitter glue has a very low freeze point, and most places do not guarantee it to be good if it's shipped below 40 degrees. So if it's going to drop down to 40 degrees at night in between the place it's coming from and your place, I would suggest, try to get it as soon as you can so you'll have plenty for the winter, because usually it's April or May before they can start shipping it out again. And I know all of us crafters love our art glitter glue. So I'm going to put that thinking of you right there, and I'm going to press it down. I'm not putting dimensions on this card because I think it's busy enough without it. I did get a little glue on my gold, so I'm cleaning that up. And now I am going to lay these butterflies. I'm going to put this bigger one right here. And I want to put some little pearls on its body, just to kind of dress him up a little bit. And let's see. I think we can probably use the smaller ones. So I'm going to lift one off of here. And I'm going to put one right there. And scoot it over just a hair. Like that. And I'm going to grab another one and set that one right there. And I think the white pearls on the gold with the white background just really adds a lot to this. So we are going to put, maybe I'll put him right here. I'll put the smaller ones up there. Yeah, I think I like him better there. Again, the card that I found on Pinterest is a little bit different than this. They had the big butterfly up here, but I think I like him. Let's see. Maybe I do like him there. So let me go ahead and put a little glue on the bottom of him, and I'm just going to put glue right here on his body. And the reason for that is I just want his wings to kind of be lifted so he looks like he's kind of in flight. Just like that. Now these little ones, I am going to put a little jewel on them. And let's just put one right there in the middle, and this one's going to live about here, and then we're going to put one right here, and I think this one can use the little bit bigger pearl like that. Sometimes, just the little embellishments like a pearl, a little drop, the color play that you make on your cards, all of this shows your personality, and it shows your creativity. And again, I think that's what I love so much about crafting. So I'm going to put this one, I think, right about here. And he's going to look like he's in flight. And maybe this one right here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. Oh, my glue has exploded. Look at that. I've definitely got to take this top off and clean this up. And I'll clean that whole metal tip. I'll put it under the water and let some warm water flow through it. And then we should be okay with that. Alright, got plenty of glue on that because it's definitely coming out. And I'm going to put this one right here. And then we're going to put a little bit more right here. And we are done with that glue. For right now anyway. There's the front of our card, and as you can see, it didn't take long to throw this together. It is a beautiful card. It just speaks volumes, I think. So I did get a little bit of glue up there, but I'm gonna clean that up. As it dries, I can wipe that off. And I did have issues with my glue because I had the exploding bottle of art glitter glue. Now inside here I want to put something and I want to mat it, but I think what I'm going to do is do a pale, maybe a pale pink. And the reason I said pale pink is because I have a pink piece of paper laying right here. So I'm going to cut this down to the mat size that I need. And then we can stamp a sentiment inside of there. I'm not going to stamp anything in there at this point because I want to decide who I'm going to send this card to before I put a sentiment inside. But I am going to go ahead and cut this mat down to fit. And that mat needs to be 4 3/4. Let's see, let's try it first this way. 5 1/4, no. 6 3/4, right, 6 3/4. I was trying to do an A2 size card, and this is not an A2 card. So 6 by 4 3/4, 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. And now this should fit perfectly inside here. I'm not going to adhere it down either, because when I make cards ahead of time like this, I like for them to be waiting for whoever I decide. So if I happen to be wanting to send a thanking of you card to someone, God lays it on my heart to send someone a card, then I can go to my thanking of you cards and pull out one. I can open it up and say, I'm going to send this to so-and-so. So the card is ready then to be shipped off to whoever that God has laid on my heart. So this is our card for today, and I hope that you enjoyed the process of me making this. Like I always tell you all the time, be kind to someone, show kindness to someone, even a stranger. You know, if you're walking through the grocery store or you're at the gas station or something, just a simple hi, how are you, or hello, or just, you know, the cashier, somebody. Stick a couple cards in your purse or on you at somewhere, and just have a thinking of you, and just, or a hello. And maybe stamp just a word of encouragement inside of it. You could always write a scripture inside of it. I think it would be really great to always have a scripture card just to hand to someone to share that good news of Jesus. So I encourage you today, as I do always, to be an encouragement, show love and support to your fellow human. We never ever know. And it's so important to me, for me to bring this message to y'all, to show kindness always, and to show love to one another. So until we craft again, thank you so much for tuning in. And also, just as a announcement, I'm still trying to reach my 500 subscribers. So if this is your first time tuning in to this video, or to one of my videos, go over to my video that says Let's Talk. I am doing a giveaway, and you might want to go check out that video and follow the directions there to be entered. And as soon as I reach 500 subscribers, I will be giving away this prize package that's retailed at $75, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed with what's in the package. So until we meet again, happy crafting and God bless. Bye-bye.